all beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is, and what a beautiful day. This is I love all the seasons of the year. You know, when I lived in New York, you know, it was really beautiful each season, you know, but I love this time of year. This is so beautiful. And like I said, I love all the seasons, but this is so beautiful just seeing the leaves falling down now. It's kind of funny, but a lot of people are screaming when that happens because that means yard work. That means raking leaves. So anyway, I hope you're getting out in nature and enjoying the weather, because if you're not, you're missing out. You are missing out. And so anyway, I love you all. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you can also give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you could share my videos with your family or friends. Butterflies, why not? And I'm going to say an inchworm, because I had one that landed on me when I was meditating. I'm like, something's on me. And it was the little inchworm. Actually, that was like a little half of an inchworm. It was a baby inchworm. But either way, it was an inchworm. And besides an inchworm, you can also check out my playlist. Plus, if you want to send Starlight any pictures of your pets or any animals, not your family, not your husband, not your wife, not those kind of pets, but if you have any furry friends, or maybe like a snake or a turtle, you got an ant farm? Sure, yes, I would love to see your ant farm. I would love to see what were they doing in that thing. So yes, you could do that. And also a big, huge thank you. Thank you to all of you who have been here, loving and supporting Starlight. Starlight's like always, bugs are they are around, hanging around somewhere. So anyway, I love you all, and thank you for all of you who've been here from the beginning all the way through, loving and supporting Starlight, watching my videos, giving me thumbs up, leaving me a message down below, or sharing my videos, or leaving me a message. Yes, so thank you. And so today, I haven't made one of these videos in a while, so I said, yeah, I wanted to do other videos, but Starlight got occupied doing other things. So it will give me time for the next round. So anyway, I do love you all. And today it's for people. You might not need this now, but you might need this later. So be prepared. You might think, why are you making this on your YouTube channel? Well, it's because shit is going to be happening, you know, and I don't know when, but always be prepared, you know, not to let fear guide you, but to let love guide you, not fear. And, you know, but it is good to be prepared. And some of you could be really struggling a lot in life. And, you know, those of you that are single, and it doesn't even matter if you're single or not, but there's some of you out there that you might be able to do things a different way, and you might be, you know, have more freedom in your life by doing something as crazy as what I'm going to say, or you might end up having to do something like this later on in the future. So don't think it's crazy, and that's why you don't want to get so tied up with material stuff, having more stuff, you know, buying more stuff. And that's why I made a video the other few days ago about, are you ready to, you know, celebrate the holidays, or are you ready for the holidays? Because people, you know, there's people that have so much money, they just go out and they buy and they buy and they buy. They're trying to impress other people with, look at what I bought, look at what I have in my house, look at the brand name clothes that I have. And they might not even be able to really go out and do that, you know, but they do it, you know. And that's what you got to watch out for is, are you spending too much money, you know, on what you have? And why are you buying what you have? You know, the things that you buy in your house, it's so important. You know, with the Hollywood stars, they want us to copy them and be like them, but that's not what we're here for. Especially if you're a person that lives for God. It's not about, saying, hey, look at my brand new car, look at, in church, really, a lot of people, it's sad. I really like holidays. There could be people that go to church and they might not faithfully go every single time the doors are open. They might not even be getting involved. But then certain holidays pop out, like especially like Easter. I've noticed like Easter, because in the springtime that man, I'll tell you what, it's like a fashion show. We don't even know why we're going there, but hey, this is a time that the whole family are going to wear, brand new clothes. Kids are going to have like possibly, brand new clothes for, got bought just for this Easter Sunday. And it's like it's a fashion show. And I don't know if the men do this or not, because men like to go out and they might buy like a special suit or a dress shirt or a tie for the Easter Sunday. And like I said, they might not even show up on a regular basis. And this happens. I was in church and I was like, wow, isn't that weird? A holiday, and like the church would fill up. Then on a holiday, when it was not a holiday, whoop, where did all the people go? Ooh, it's Easter. Whoop, a whole lot of people. And then whoop, where did all the people go? And then whoop, Christmas time. Wow, look at all the people. And then whoop. So it is, especially Easter Sunday, I have to say, out of all the holidays. And it's about, you better get prepared for the future. And it's you, especially with AI and any possible like viruses, and later on they're going to be having a digital ID. So you got to prepare yourself. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to put up with? What are you going to put up with? Do you believe in protecting your privacy? Do you believe in, keeping your free will that God gave us? Be careful, because there's things that are brewing out there that, if you're too occupied and you're too distracted, you're going to wake up one day and it's not going to be, you're going to end up, you're going to go to work and then, because you're so distracted on everything else, you're not even paying attention to really what's going on. And that's the whole trick, is to get you to spend all your money that you have. I know people that they don't even stock up for anything, and just in case what if the prices just jumped right up? If I was living in a house, I would like to have a cooler, a freezer or whatever, an extra freezer. And well, Starlight doesn't eat meat, so really that really wouldn't do me any good. But I would be jarring stuff. That's what Starlight would be doing, because I eat vegetables and I eat fruit. But I would be jarring stuff. There's a whole lot you can do to prepare for later on with canning. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do for canning. That way, you know what? Later on, you already, you don't have to worry about going out and go to the store and the prices just jacked up somewhere. And I'm not saying anything is going to like happen like that later on, but it's wise to put your money in a good place. Where are you wasting the money that you have? Sorry, Starlight's got an itch. So are you wasting the money that you have right now? Or are you being wise with the money that you have right now? My dad, I have to say, he lives out like in the middle of nowhere where the Amish people live. And I got to give him credit, because he's a blind man, but he's not stupid, is because he's got like tanks, for, I'm not sure what he uses for his heating up the furnace where he lives. But you know what he does? Is whatever that stuff is, I always get these things mixed up. I don't know if they use kerosene or what they use for, some people use oil, some people use different things to heat up their houses depending on what kind of, what you have. But what my dad does is he gets his stuff, he fills up his tank early on before winter. He stocks up, so that way he's got it all, So if the prices go up in the wintertime, he's got 2 tanks, he's got a backup, where he can actually switch those around and still be able to heat his place up and not spend those ridiculous prices if prices get jacked up. So you might want to consider, there's a lot people doing this, and it wouldn't be a bad thing to do, is, think of the money that you could save. Now, are you ready? And you don't have to do this, but think of the money if you're single. And this is what happens. We get so comfortable living in a house, having all these things in a house, is, you could save a whole lot of money, but people like the comfort of their home. And the way things are going to look later on, you got to, and this is why God put me in this situation here. I have prepared my whole life for kind of the end of the world kind of thing. And not, a lot of people actually fear this time of year. And I just seen a video not too long ago on TikTok where these people thought the rapture was coming. They really did. They really, I don't even know how many people, but they thought the rapture was coming. And so they sold everything. They gave everything away. They did everything. They cleared everything out. And they all met at this one place, believing, screaming and yelling, believing that the rapture was coming. They even sent messages to people warning them about, like Jesus is coming back in the clouds, and guess what? Nothing happened. We're still, I'm still here. So you got to watch out. Nobody knows what time, anything is going to happen. At least that's what the Bible says. But you want to be prepared, and God put me in this situation because I knew that I was going to end up living off the land somewhere, but I didn't know, how God was going to have it. I prepared myself my whole life. My whole life was about preparing for times like this, and this is why God pulled me out of where I was to teach me some things, because shit is going to happen. And does the end always need to be a bad thing? No. Actually, to have other things come in, we have to, to have a new beginning, we have to let go of the old. And it's so important, like even all these full moons that come out every month, it's about letting go of old things so you can embrace new things to come in your life. So don't get so scared. If you're living for God, and if you're, just like in Exodus, that is one of my favorite books, is, when they were, all these people were being slaves to Pharaoh, and Moses was being a voice to help those people out during that time, is God put all these plagues and did all these things to Pharaoh to prove that he was God. And he was, hardening Pharaoh's heart, because God already knew he wasn't going to let the people go. And, he still didn't want to obey God. But the cool thing about all that, I put myself in these stories, and it was so cool because, whatever was happening to Pharaoh and all his people, it wasn't happening to the people that were there, that God had there, all the people that were slaves, they were protected. If you're living for God, you will be protected. You are protected. So you don't want to live in fear and fearing what's going to happen. Is that you got to trust the process and just keep on living for God and pray for help, ask God for guidance. And I'm making this video is because it's about going car camping. You don't have to car camp. There's other ways that people do things, like, imagine that you just, sold your things and get like a motorhome, and you still be able to make money and be able to have, the comforts. That is for people that, they're not quite ready to downsize like where Starlight is. And I love the tent camping, but of course I would need a tent to do that, and there's some places out around that are free camping if you find those. But it's about getting ready for things to come later on. So is there things that, you can let go of in your house? Is there things that, where you can be wise of where your money is going? And this video is to really help you out as far as like if you are going to car camp. Is this is what I was really supposed to be talking about. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked on this topic here because it is so important to realize that you got to get prepared, and it's wise not to go out and spend all your money on what they want you to spend. You know, they want you to go and celebrate all these holidays because they want your money. They don't care later on, you know, when you run out of money. No, they don't care, you know. So it is wise if you, especially if you're a single person, you can, it doesn't even matter. I've seen people that are couples that have done this. There's people that have big vans that do this. There's people that have cars, and what they've done is they take the passenger seat and they take it right out and they actually make that a bed. So you know what? You have a place to sleep. Of course, other things like about using the bathroom in a vehicle is different, especially for females. Guys, you know, I don't want to say guys always have it easier than women, but in many cases they do because they don't have babies, right? They make them, they know how to make them, but you know, they don't, I've never heard of, one of these days that's going to probably happen is that they're going to make that happen. Boy, oh boy, you know, imagine that, you know, you get this man that had a baby. I don't know how the heck that would happen, but yeah, that's some surgery there. Is so with the car camping is, you know, you can actually do this and you'll be so a lot freer. You, especially if you're a nature person like Starlight, and some of you might like to be in a situation like this. And I believe if you are like into camping, you know, even people that are single that have children can do this. But it would be a big enough vehicle to do that. People have motorhomes that do this. But if you ever do want to go car camping or live in a vehicle, you know, and go out and live on the land somewhere, you know, is the whole point of making this video is when it's nighttime is to so that is what this video is really about is, you know, when you are in your vehicle at night, you got to have, you know, before it gets dark, you want to have everything organized in your car. Sorry about this air helicopter out here. Is and that is what Starlight was doing today as I was at this park. Sorry about this noise. And I have two long picnic tables that are here together. This is a great place to like take things out of a vehicle and say, hey, I gotta do laundry today. Today's laundry day. So I gotta gather all my dirty laundry in my bag or wherever in my car, and also to organize anything, get rid of any food that needs to get thrown away. Come into a park where there's picnic tables and a garbage can, you know, is a great place to organize your vehicle. But if you decide that you want to really save up on some money, you know, is, you know, you don't have to, imagine that, you wouldn't even have to pay rent, you know, and wouldn't it, you would be free. There's people that live in cities, they don't want to live in the city. Well, you know what, in this case, you don't have to live in the city, you could be free. That's the worst place you can live. There's people that I have met that say they live in a city, and they have their reasons why they say they live in the city, but it is not good. The toxic energy in the city is not good for you. And I had to learn that on my journey in life, is realize, you know, I'm better off living out in the country somewhere. So for living in a car or anywhere, depending on what kind of vehicle you have, is you always want to, when it starts, before it starts getting dark, you know, you want to make sure your vehicle, whatever vehicle that you're in, that you know where everything is. You know, like toilet paper. Where did Starlight have the toilet paper? How about my little bag where I put my dirty toilet paper in? Where's that? Where's, you know, where's my water supply? Where's, you know, my keys at, you know, where do I put my keys? Because a lot of times, like right now, and that's why I have to do laundry, is so I can let go of some old clothes, you know, that I've had for a long time, and get these these clothes clean so I can kind of replace old clothes and put new clothes in my car. Is that I've been putting bags in the front seat, in the driver's seat at nighttime, and my driver's seat is already full with my bag of clothes. So that's where I keep my bag of clothes all the time. That way I don't have to move that. I used to move that in the front of the car every single night. That's a big ass duffel bag, you know, of clothes. So that just stays in the passenger seat, you know, and then I was carrying like two heavy bags, and putting them in the front seat, all my books, and putting them on the floor. And so less is best when it comes to car camping or wherever. You don't want to collect a lot of stuff because it's more work for you. And that's a good way of losing things, is when you got too many things. But being organized is number one all the way around, and keeping it clean. You don't really want to have it of eating in your car. I've actually met a guy, I was so blown away. He did help me out by putting some plugs in my car, but he was living in his car. He was on his own journey with God, and he told me he had cockroaches in his car. And he said that he was eating in his car, and the crumbs got all over, and they climbed right in his window, and, you know, that was his little family there. So you got to really be careful and mindful, as eating in your car is not really the best thing to do. It can be really messy. It can make messes in your car, and it can draw bugs and even flies, you know. And it's good to keep your car clean, wipe things down, because even if you don't spill food around and get crumbs all over, sometimes you might have things on your hands that you're not even aware of, and you touch the dashboard of the car, and flies will be drawn into those things. You know, if your hands are not clean and you don't keep your dashboard clean, flies could be drawn in. Flies will like to get in your car anyway, no matter what, if it's clean or not. But you don't want to draw bugs in your car, because they're really a big pain in the ass. So you want to make sure everything is in its place. And I am going to do this really quick. Okay, so here I am. I just took a few minutes to open up my doors, take things out so you can really see what my car looks like. And this is when I didn't expect company coming, so don't mind Starlight, because I was out here organizing things. But see, this is my front of my car. There's my bag of my clothes. So like my top of the dashboard, I just have my washcloths up there, so they're handy. And so right here, these are the bags of laundry that Starlight's got to clean up today. So, and then on the other side is my blankets, all stacked up on the other side in a neat way. But that's my pee box, believe it or not. But I have my bags of books in there. And down below there, that's where my stuff is for when I need to use the bathroom at night. And I took these things out, but this is where Starlight stores all her, I just emptied this drawer here, so that is all nice and empty here. This is all raisins and cereal that has no sugar, and then vegetables get in these containers. And I like to have extra water. This is water that you don't drink, but this is great for cleaning anything up that you need. And then, which I have to go through this soon, like today would be good, is this is all my important paperwork that I really need for anything. My so these are, Starlight's got extra, these are my winter clothes in here, so because I don't need them right away. And I have right here any cleaning supplies that I need. I have my bags right here. So everything is really organized. I got brown bags there. I got a pair of boots already that I just received recently. This bag here has, this bag here is a bunch of those doggy bags or any sandwich bags. This bag here has got all my bread stuff. This thing here is all my, like, shampoos and stuff like that I have, that is really handy, so when I need it, it's easy to get to. And like I said, this is all my blankets, and I got more books. My pillows and all that stuff is on this side, so this is all ready, you know, for later on. And I have my coats that I put on top, so they're handy. And like I said, this is how Starlight has her stuff organized. All this stuff in the front on the floor is, I have my silverware in here. Like if I need a pair of scissors, any first aid stuff is in here. I have my lotions in here, and personal items in here. So that is where I store all that. And on all the doors, this is where I stick my water on the little pockets. And I also stick water in there. So, and besides in the doors, I stick all that stuff in there. Starlight is like a squirrel. I know how to use all the space in my car. So you got to be really mindful of, like, if you're gonna car camp. And like I said, that water is so important to have that, because even if the weather is bad, and also having like wipes are really good, you know, like to wipe things down. Or I have washcloths in here, towels in here. So if I really need to, I have things to clean up my dirty dishes. Or there's times that I can put my dirty dishes, and I normally do that. Hang on. I normally put my dirty dishes in that bag, and I have some dish soap. So with any dirty dishes that you cannot get clean for one reason or another, like if it's really pouring out and raining, that might be really difficult to clean dishes on a rainy day, or different times when you can't get to water or it's too cold out, is you always want to make sure you know, you have containers, which I'll show you. Starlight has a bunch of the I just cleaned a whole bunch of these today. So okay, here we are. I am out here outside my car, and I wanted to show you the kind of things that you're going to need as far as living in your car. And like I said, it's much better really to, you know, eat food that you're going to make. You know, get out and buy some stuff so you can make meals. It's awesome. It's awesome to go out and find like a park or a camping area, somewhere where they have picnic tables where you can actually eat outside and enjoy the weather, as long as it's warm enough for you to be able to handle it and the weather is not bad. And you can even do that even on rainy days in some places like this where I am, is that they have, you know, you won't get wet here. Of course, you would have to bundle up if you, depending on what kind of a person you are, if you can deal with that kind of stuff. You're really gonna, if you're gonna cook for yourself, which is a cheaper way and a healthier way to me, because you know exactly what you're putting in your food, but you're gonna want containers. These really actually, some of these actually have screw-on lids. They are awesome, like if you have liquid stuff, and it's a good safe spacer, a safe space saver, because you know, they're tall, and these containers will, let me just pull one of these out. These will fit right into these drawers, so you can fill one of those drawers up. And that's what I just had, is I just dumped all my pickles out, is you could fill up one of those drawers with a whole bunch of those with different food in there, and it just saves on space. And also, like, these are awesome. I use these for salads a lot if I want more space to stir things up. These are great. I use these a lot for many things, and these I use for salads too. Depending on what you're cooking and what really works. But these are really good because the lids are really good, depending on where you buy them. And, you know, I don't do the paper plates, but all I need for myself is one plate. So, you know, it is wise to, you know, think ahead in life. You could save a whole lot of money. There's a lot of people struggling, you know, to pay the rent. And this is what they've done out here, and they did this when I was younger, where there's people, they want a beautiful apartment, you know. Well, how much is that apartment gonna cost, you know? And then you got you got your bills, you know, you got the Niagara Mohawk or whatever, the electric bill, your lights, your gas for the stove and all that stuff. All that stuff adds up. And the way they have it is, you know, you're going to only make it if you go and live in the city. That's my whole point. Is Starlight realized that. I started off living in this crappy apartment, and I felt like crap. And no wonder why I wasn't motivated to do anything, because the place that I was living, it felt like crap. It wasn't, the walls had holes in it, and they plastered them up, and it was such a cheap job. you know um, Things didn't work right in an apartment, but that was the only thing when I was younger that I could afford with one child. So, instead of living in a city where it's toxic for you, and living in an apartment and paying a landlord that isn't even doing the job, not even repainting, how old is that paint on how old is the carpet? I've lived in places, the carpet was so nasty and so old, I did all that I could to keep it going, but you know what? I felt like crap, and I was paying money to live in those places. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel, because the environment that I was living in, I didn't feel safe in some of these places. I had places that I lived at where, you know, somebody was outside in my hallway, and I didn't realize it, but my life was being threatened by a man that was stalking me a long time ago. And he was in my hallway in the nighttime, and he could have easily busted open the door that easily. And why I say that is because that door had a big ass crack in the door. And so you gotta really, if you're living in a slumlord apartment, or you're living somewhere and you don't even feel at home in that place, and you're paying all that money, you gotta free yourself. You don't have to live like that. And you know what? You might think this is not the answer for you right now, is to live inside of a vehicle. But like I said in the other in the other video, is, I sleep in the back space here, and this whole thing would be actually covered with bed space. And there's some people that they can actually sleep sitting up, but that's not Starlight. I have to lay down, and I do get cramped at times, but you know what? It is better than to go and pay for places that are charging ridiculous prices, where you don't even have enough money for the food by the time you pay for your place to live. So that's kind of backwards. And if you are single, you might want to think twice. Even if you don't even have to be a single person. If you're just tired of putting all your money out there, on rent and all these different things that they have, and and now these days, from what I hear, and I don't know if it's the same in all states, is that you have to have a credit. You got to pass a credit score or something. You got to get like a background check, and so that's crazy. And how much money, I've actually gone to places that you had to pay like the security. Then there was another added fee that they wanted to charge you, and the rent, just for you to move in. And a lot of times it protects the landlord more than it protects the people that are moving in those places. So, and it is best for you to really, if you're living in a slumlord place, you'd be better off saving your money, even, I'm not going to tell you not to pay the rent, but really, if they're not doing their part as far as the landlord is concerned, and there's a lot of places do that, is that they're there when the paycheck comes in, because I had one like that a long time ago, but they're not even doing their work. You tell them that things are falling apart, but they don't even do the work. So you might want to get really ready for the future, as far as, the way things are going to be going, as far as like the digital ID, and saying that that is going to be coming in the United States. So you got to get prepared of what that means for you, as far as are you going to take the digital ID or not? What is the digital ID? Well, you got to check that out. And my mentor, Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, made a video, and you might want to Google that and find out what go on YouTube and find out what is the digital ID, because I can't put that in this video right now because of how long this video has been going, and he did an amazing job on that. So, you know, if you want your privacy taken away, if you want to be tracked all the time, you know, and you won't be able to go to work unless you have it. So you got to really think ahead, as really what are you going to put up with later on down the road, and you might want to get prepared for those times coming is by letting go of some material stuff, you know, and saving your money. Save your money, you know, go get a mobile home somewhere, you know, find a, you know, get one where you could take a shower. If you got, you know, think of the money that you have right now. If you don't keep on blowing all the money on things that you don't really need to impress people that don't even like you know, is that you could save that money and, you know, get a motor home where you can have a shower, you can have a bed, you can have a table, you know, or you could do something downsize where you can go get something like what I have, like an SUV. If a motor, sorry about that, my battery died. So if a motor home is not for you and you want to downsize and get something smaller like a van or like an SUV like I do, is that you can go get a membership at a gym and take showers there. And guess what? You can even use the gym, you know? So that's other ways of, you know, keeping clean if you want to go that route. And after a while, you know what? You'll feel a whole lot freer, you know, being out in nature more, and, you know, knowing that, hey, you know what, I got ahead of everything instead of, you know, things going on that is out there, you know, and you got to be prepared for anything as far as the future goes. Like before, when we had COVID, the tenants really won on that because the tenants didn't have to move out. The government made a law. But what if the, you know, the people that are renting those places, if they, you know, evict you before any law can be made out, you know, so they might even have you fill out a form, you know, saying, I don't know what they can or can't do, but you really got to get prepared for the future. And, you know, I wouldn't go out and spend a whole lot of money, especially the way things are going on in the world. To me, if I was in your situation working at a job, which I do work, it's just that I would save that money and get a vehicle that I can actually live in. And so I don't have to live in a slumlord apartment, be in a neighborhood that's toxic, you know, and I would be able to have money because shit is going to be coming and you got to be prepared for it. So I love you so much. And I just wanted to help you out as far as like living in a vehicle, is that you want to have everything organized and you want to have everything ready ahead of time before it gets too dark, so you got everything organized in the vehicle depending on what vehicle that you're in. So that way it's a lot smoother. Things goes a lot smoother throughout the night when you know, where's my keys? Oh shit, where's my keys at? You know, it's dark and you can't see. And so anyway, I do love you, and I hope, especially those of you that are thinking, you know what, the rent is so high, I'm spending so much money, you know, I got a car payment, I got this, I got that, I'm like paying this money and that money, you know, and some people, they will work like so many hours in a week and they don't even have a life. You know, do you want to have 2 part-time jobs like I was doing before? You know, you don't have to do the 2 part-time jobs, you know, if you really think of think and ahead of time and be ready for what's going to be coming down the road. So anyway, I do love you, and I hope you really get a lot of help from this video, and you could give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, plus you can leave me a message down below, beep beep beep, and you could share this video. Believe me, we're gonna you're gonna want to think twice of where you're gonna live. You know, do you like where you live in? You know, are you living in a city? Are you sick and tired of the noise and the toxic energy out there? You could do something about it. I just was in an area not too long ago where somebody was getting upset because all they could hear is this, and it was this dog barked and barked and barked and barked and barked. He barked at everything. He barked at everyone. He barked and barked and barked and barked and barked and barked and barked on like the whole entire block. And once that dog barked, then all these other dogs barked. It just was crazy with all these dogs barking. I love animals, but man, I would have a problem with with that, living next door to somebody's dog that's barking and all the time. And it's sad because that dog was on the other side of a park, and people would see the dog at the park and they would walk to the dog, and even though there's a fence in between the dog and the park, they would come and visit the dog, and then they got the dog barking more. So you don't have to live environments like that. You don't have to be around that. Dogs, it's one thing if they bark in the daytime, but it's a totally different story when you're sleeping, where, is that dog keeping you up, or are you trying to sleep in the daytime and the dog just keeps on barking? If you're a person that sleeps in the daytime, you're not going to want to be living next to people that have a dog that barks all day long. So anyway, I love you. Like I said, you can share this video. Also, you can check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that's Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.